Welcome to Libratress YouTube channel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful double inverted clip. You can see that the cape is lapping on each other and it has this really cute shape. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So before we start, let's try to analyze this style. So this is the cape that we want to achieve. As you can see, these are two different capes. This is the bigger one, which is the longest, and this is the shorter one that is just lapping, that is lapping on the bigger one. Okay, so I'll try to do a demonstration of how it's going to lay on our bodies on this pattern. So the bigger one is the one that runs all the way from here. Remember, it goes underneath the shorter one, so it runs from here underneath. The shorter one is going to be lapping on it. It's going to come from where all the way to the center back. Okay, so this is the center back, so it will be breaking here. So we're going to be having the long one here and the short one here, and the short one, which is this, is the one that is going to be running from the center back all the way to the center front like this, which is indicated with the black marker, and the long one is indicated with the short marker. And then you can see that the neckline here is quite wide. You can see the actual neckline we add initially is the 3 inches by 3 inches that we normally use, but in this case you will see that the neck is the dress is just hanging on the shoulder by just a few inches, maybe 1 or 1.5 inches. That is why we went in from our shoulder. Remember, this is our actual shoulder. We went in by just 1 inch and quarter, or even 1 inch, before we drew our new V neckline. So that is the analysis. Now we'll be drafting it. So to draft it, I already have my basic bodice pattern, and like I said, the neckline is not this narrow. Okay, so on the neckline you can see that this is what we have here. It's just hanging by the shoulder by a bit. So here I'm going to come in by just 1 inch and quarter. Yeah, so I'm coming in here by 1 inch and quarter. So this is what I have. And then on the center front here also is a bit low compared to the 3 inches that I have here. So on the center front, from my center front here, from the upper part, from the shoulder, I'm going to be going down by 7 inches, which is around here. So using my ruler, you can do 6 inches, you can do 8 inches, depending on how low you want it. I'm going to be connecting this now. So this becomes my new neckline, and I'm going to be chopping off the initial neckline that I have there. So here now I'm cutting this. So the alteration that I did here, I'm going to be doing on the back panel also. So this is my back. Initial 3 inches by 1 inch is no longer going to work. So here I'm going in by 1 inch and quarter, and then here I'm coming down by 4 inches, which I have here. Then I'll connect this now and then cut this off so that I can have my new neckline. Okay, so this is my front and this is my back. So now the first thing I'm going to do now is to just imitate like I'm sewing this. So you can see the shoulder now. I'm joining the shoulder together so that I can draw out my cape, and then I'm going to be holding the shoulder together with a masking tape. So here I'm connecting the shoulder together, and then I'm holding them together with a masking tape. So now I'll get a fresh paper, which is this, and then I'll be putting the fresh paper on fold. You can see that the paper is on fold. Then on my fold point here, I'm going to be placing my front and back on my fold point, making sure that the tip of the neckline of the back, which is this, let me just use a marker to indicate that point, which is here, and the tip of the front also is matching, is lying on the center part like this. Okay, so I'm just making sure of that. So once I have that now, I can hold it with a pen because I want to trace out this neckline. I hope you understand that. So I have this now. I'll try to hold it so that it will be still for me. I'm trying to hold this down with a masking tape, then using my marker or a tracing wheel, I'm going to be tracing out this neckline. Okay, so this is my back, and here is my front, the V shape. Okay, so the masking tape keeps removing. I'm just going to hold it with my hand, and then I'm going to trace it out like that. Okay, so I can remove this now. I can just note my shoulder point, which is here, and then here is my back, here is my front, and this here is my shoulder point. Okay, so now to start drafting my cape, I'm going to be starting with the second one. Okay, but this just goes all the way. So to have what I have here on the other side, I'll take my tracing wheel and then trace out this neckline. That was why it was folded into two, so that I can have the same thing on both sides. So I'll trace out this neckline now, and then I'm going to draw it out on the other part also. So this is my shoulder point. I'm just going to open up what I have here, and then I'm going to draw it out here. Okay, so I've traced this other neckline out now, and if you check it with your actual basic bodice, you see that the neckline is exactly the same. This is for my front, and if you check the back also, you will see that it is also exactly the same. So it has to be the same. Remember, you're still going to sew this cape back to the neckline, so you should make sure of that. So now the first cape I'll be drawing is the short cape, which is this small one. And to do this, I'm going to be extending this shoulder by the length that I have from here to here, depending on what you want to use. I think I'll be using 5 inches for this. So here I'll place my ruler now, and I'll extend this by 5 inches. So I'll check that with my tape rule, and then I'll see that I have 5 inches. Then on the lower part here, I'm just going to mirror what I have here. You can see that it just comes out like this, and it's a bit longer than what we have on the shoulder area. So here I'm just going to take my ruler now, and then I'm going to imitate what I have there. So from my neckline, from the point of my neckline here, I'm just going to slant my ruler like this now, and then come out like that. So now I'll measure what I have, and I want it to be longer than what I have here. So here I have 6.5 inches, and here I have 5 inches, so it is 1.5 inches longer. So the next thing is to connect from here to here. So I'll be connecting it. Okay, and then remember I said we are going to be having two separate capes. So this here now is going to be going round the back. So to go around the back, what I have here, which is 5 inches, I'm just going to be measuring it round like that, round my neckline. I'll measure the 5 inches round, and then I'm going to stop at the center back. Okay, and then I'll connect that using my free hand or a curve. If you can use a curve, use a curve. You can use your free hand, use your free hand. So I'm connecting it to this place now, and then I'll try to blend it in so that it will not be too sharp. So I have one side of my cape ready, which is the short side. Now to work on the long side, just like I extended this shoulder, here also I'll be extending this shoulder by 5 inches, because that is what I want, and the 5 inches is including the allowance. So by the time I turn it here and twist it, I may be left with maybe 4 inches. So 5 inches is fine for me, and then I'll connect that like this. So after connecting it, the next thing now is to note where this cape is going to drop on the waistline, and you can see it is very, very close to the waist. So on my pattern here, the waist measurement I'm working with is 18 inches, which is this. So I'm just going to let it drop around 17 inches, which is 1 inch before the waist. And as you can see, that it is very close to the waist here. So on my center front here, on this center part here, I'll take my you can join it. If you are not sure of where your center front is, you can make a straight line there, and then from that straight line on the center front, this is the center front, I can see the crease line. So I'll measure 17 inches. Okay, and my 17 inches stops here. I hope the camera can take it up to here. Okay, let me just shift it. So what I did is measure from the upper part here, from the center part here downwards, and then I said I want to stop it around 17 inches. So my 17 inches stops here. Okay, and my actual waist is 18 inches, so that's 1 inch before the actual waist. So the next one is to connect from here to my shoulder using my straight ruler. So I'll be connecting that now, and I will use another color of marker. So I'll be using a black marker so that we can see the difference. So I'm connecting it like this, and I have this. So now the next thing is to create this part of the cape. And remember that this long one goes inside this short one here. Okay, so to create that part, I'm going to measure what I have here on my neckline here, and after measuring it I have around 9 inches. So I'm going to be dividing that by 2, and I'll have 4.5 inches, which is here. So here I'll be going down by 3 inches. Okay, so just watch this carefully, it's not difficult. I'm going down by 3 inches, and then on this line here also I'll go down by 3 inches. So the thing is, after going down by 3 inches here, you can actually connect from that mark, from the 3 inches mark that you go there. You can connect it straight if you want it to be sharp like this. As you can see, what we have here is quite straight. It just comes down straight like that, but I just want mine to have like a coffee effect. If you want it straight, you just take your ruler now and connect from this point all the way to this point straight like that. But because I don't want this straight now, I just came down here by 3 inches also, and then I'm going to be connecting it like this. So after connecting it, so from here, remember this is the part that is going to enter inside the cape, which is here. You can see that we cannot see it. So this is the part that's going to enter inside our cape, our small cape. So the part that is going to show, which is here, which is the big one here, I want it to have like a coffee effect. So I'm going to be using my curved ruler now to get a nice curve around that area. So I can take it in bits. So now I have it like this, and then I'm going to try to curve it so that I can have something curvy. So I have something like this. You can see that it is no longer straight, it's just slightly curved, because that is what I want. And then now to take this cape to the back, the same thing that I did here, I'm going to be measuring 5 inches round my back also. So here I'll measure 5 inches from my back neckline. I'll measure it to go and meet what I have there. So this is quite simple, like I said, just pay attention to it. You can watch it many times before you practice, so you can get the hang of it. So now my cape is complete, and then I'm going to blend in here. So this is what I have as my cape. So the next thing now is for me to trace it out. But remember that this is entering inside this. So if I cut out this red line now, it means I would have cut into this. So before I cut it out, I'm going to be tracing this on another paper before I now cut this out. I hope you understand that. So like I said, the cape is going to be breaking here. It's not going to be having any seam on the shoulder. You can see that we've cut it together. The only seam we're going to be having is here. And on my center back pattern also, I don't have a seam allowance here yet, and I'll be putting a zipper there. So I need my zipper allowance. I just took the normal dart that I normally take as my center back to avoid gaping. So I'm still yet to take my zipper allowance. So here also, by the time I cut it out, I'm going to be including my 1 inch zipper allowance. Then I'll bring it back to show us. Okay, so I've traced out this short one now, and then I have it on the fresh pattern here. So remember that I said I'll be adding 1 inch allowance. So before I cut it out, I'm just going to be extending this by the 1 inch allowance that I'm going to be having as my back. Okay, then I'm going to cut it out. So I just want to check to see if I have up to 1 inch. Okay, so this is exactly 1 inch, and then the 1 inch stops here. So now I'm going to be cutting out this shape for the short one. So I've cut this out now, and then for the long one also, before I cut it out, I'll be extending it also by 1 inch for my zipper allowance. So I'm extending it here by 1 inch, and then using my ruler, I'm going to connect it, and then I'm going to be cutting out this shape that we have for our front also. So I'm cutting along these black lines all the way to the center back. Okay, so I've cut out the long one also, and you can see the shape. This is the one that will extend into the short one, and if we just place it on each other now, we can see that we have successfully imitated that cape. Okay, so this is what we're going to be having. Now I'm going to be cutting it on fabric. So I'll cut 2 of each. One is going to be for my main fabric, and one is going to be for the lining. And then I'll go ahead also to cut out my fabric for the basic bodies. Then I'll bring it back to show us how we are going to sew it. So all my patterns are cut now, and I'm using this doll face fabric. So this is my back. You can see that I added my seam allowance, my zipper allowance, and also my 1 inch seam allowance on the side. This is my front. I've closed my bust dart and then transferred it to the waist. So these are the 2 capes. So I cut 2 for each, and I'm going to use them to turn out each other. And like I said, I already added my allowance. So the only place where I added allowance is on this part, because by the time I sew it in, I don't want it to chop off this part. Remember that it needs to sit right here. Okay, so it has to fit like this. So if I don't have this 1/2 inch allowance, by the time I turn it, it may not be able to sit on that part. So that's the only place where I added allowance. And then I'm going to sew them together now and use them to turn out each other and iron it. Then I'll bring it back to show us how we're going to couple it. And then for my front and back also, I'm going to take my darts, then I'll join it on the shoulder and also on the side by the same allowance. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew them now, and I've ironed it. You can see that it is neatly pressed. So this is the cape now. So I'm going to first of all assemble the cape. Remember, this is the V shape of the cape. It's going to come, let me place it like this. So this is the long part, this is the short part. So this short part is going to be on top of the long part by this V shape. So you can just hold it with a stitch first, but I'm just going to pin it for explanation purpose. So I'm going to still hold it later. So I'm going to pin this together so that I'll have my cape as one piece. So when you're cutting this, if you have enough fabric, you can place your bias on fold to cut your cape so that it can just bounce well for you. As in, I don't know, there is this effect that it gives to it. It just makes it lay well. But if you don't have enough fabric, you can just cut it the normal way by just placing your fabric on fold. So I have this like this. So now I've also sewn my main bodies together. I've held all my darts in, I joined it on the shoulder, and then I went to sew it by 1 inch allowance that I left on the side. So now I'm going to be placing this cape. So assuming you are turning this with a lining, you're going to cut your lining the same way like this, and then you're just going to be placing your cape on top of it. You can see the V shape is just going to guide you. The V shape is going to match each other. You pin it round, and then you place your lining on top of it so that I can use it to turn it out. But I'm not going to be using a lining for this, so this is how I'm going to be placing it. I'm going to place it in such a way that, remember, it's going to fall like this. So I'm going to be folding it like this. So I'll place it in such a way that by the time I finish sewing it and then I bring it out, it's going to fall on the right side. So now I'm just going to be matching my notches together. I have this V shape at the center front. I'll match it like this, and then I'm going to take it to the back, and I'll do the same thing on this side also. Then I'll sew it round, then I'll bring it to show us. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it round like this. as you can see. Then I'm going to take my scissors now and then notch it. So you can also weave it here, but if you can line in, it is best. I'm not lining it because this is just for the purpose of illustration. So I'm going to notch it round, then I'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what this is looking like. Okay, so this is our cape now sewn together, and as you can see, like I said, I think I used about 6.5 inches for this, including allowance. So if you want it longer, maybe longer than this, you can increase it just the way I explained in the video, and it just narrows down to make the 5 inches that we used on the shoulder for the allowance. And you can see that the long one goes underneath the short one, like this, to give it this perfect finishing that we have. And this is the long one, and it stops like 1 inch before the waist measurement, just like I measured, and it goes up like this. So if you want it longer here, all you just need to do is increase your measurement. In my case, I use just 5 inches. You can use more than that, and it goes to the back. You can see there's no joining for the cape on the shoulder, you can see, and it goes all the way to the back. So this is what we have on the back. So for the back also, you can choose any shape that you desire, and you can see that it includes our zipper allowance also. So you're just going to put your zipper around here. I just held mine with a tape, and also the neckline. Remember, I just chose this round neckline. The neckline can also be V-shaped or any shape you want at the back. So you can see that this cape is really, and you just need to hem your armhole, because I'm not going to fix a sleeve to this, but if you want to fix a zip to it, it is also fine. So this is really beautiful to make, to watch, and is really easy to make. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.